What is up, Ravens Flock? Huge shout out for your support for the 410 Sports Talk. James and Glenn are the best in the business. They're killing it right now. They love talking Raven talk. Make sure you go subscribe to their channel. Let's go Ravens. Big trust.
Welcome in, everybody, to another episode of 410 Sports Talk. James Haskell, along with my compadre, Glenn Martin, and a friend and frequent on the show, Jason Pruitt, the draft expert from Draftplex. Jason, how's it going, man?
Good. We're getting close to draft time. We got pro days happening now. We're going to get closer and closer, and it'll be here before you know it. So getting pretty excited about getting some mock drafts going, getting some updated boards and updated content going. So busy times right now. Busy times.
Absolutely. And make sure you guys check out Jason's stuff at Draftplex. You can follow him on Twitter, the most accurate drafter out there. So go check it out. But this video, we're going to talk about tackles. If you don't know, for any Ravens fans living under a rock, the Baltimore Ravens just signed Morgan Moses at right tackle, but still have a huge question mark at left tackle. They did pick up Juwan James's early on roster bonus, or I don't know what the exact
$500,000.
Yeah, so
change.
They're at least going to let him be at camp. It wasn't like they booted him out here as soon as they got Morgan Moses, but he's also a right tackle. So left tackle, you got Ronnie on a second year of surgery in a row, and what type of player we'll get, I'm not sure. So it's definitely a point of emphasis for the Baltimore Ravens and need. Glenn, let's talk about it. What do you got for Jason? Fire away.
Yeah, thanks again for coming on with us, Jason. Left tackle, like Jimmy mentioned, is a huge question mark. And if Ronnie Stanley were to go down, Morgan Moses is now on the roster, but he's a right tackle. Juwan James, also on the roster, hasn't played in 2.5 years and is a right tackle. And then you have the Swiss Army knife in Patrick McCary, who I don't think anyone wants penciled in as the every down starter at left tackle. So while they already invest a lot in that spot, I think they have to draft a tackle. The question is, do they do it high or they do it late? So as an overview of the tackle position in this upcoming draft, how would you classify this tackle position? Would you say it's top heavy, deep? Can you get a player throughout? How would you look at it?
Yeah, I think the depth is kind of the operative word for this class. I think it's definitely top heavy. We've got probably about 4 names at the top who could go top 10 in this draft. Charles Cross, I think, is my personal favorite of the top group, and I think he had a really good pro day showing this week, so he's up there. But you already had Ike Ekwonu and Evan Neal, so you've got two massive men who've been kind of in the running to maybe be the top player off the board. And then you also had a riser throughout this process in Trevor Penning from Northern Iowa, who's I think solidified himself as probably being a top 15 pick, if not a top 10. After that, you're going to have a little bit of a valley before you get towards the end of the first round, where you could see maybe Bernard Raymond from Central Michigan. Tyler Smith has got a lot of fans, even though he's a really raw prospect. He's got a lot of tools to work with, and you just need to clean up some of the penalties and a little bit of the technique, and maybe look at him being a developmental player for, maybe start at guard before he could get out to tackle. After that, you look at Nick, let me say it right, Petit Frere from Ohio State, left tackle. Daniel Falelae, who basically looks like a giant WWE wrestler playing a right tackle from Minnesota. He's about the largest human in this draft at 6'8", and I think 384. So just a massive man. But again, I think he's a right tackle only, so we're probably not talking about him much here. Abe Lucas from Washington State.
Quickly, Jason, what makes a guy a right tackle only and not be able to play left?
Yeah, is it lack of athleticism or?
Yeah, your athletic players are usually playing on the left side. Right tackle, maybe a little not as fleet of foot, aren't able to, the kick slides. You see these drills at the combine where you're trying to see how a guy moves. And I have a pretty good eye for being able to look at that. And we've talked about, I think this last year, the difference between playing left and right. It's not as easy as just flipping a guy to the other side. You can certainly do it, but it's like retraining yourself to do something the completely mirrored way. And I think you look at Falelae, he's a massive guy, and it takes a minute for him to get moving. And so, he could have some trouble, you probably just wouldn't want to put him on the left, especially if it's being for most teams, the blind side. But I think with Lamar, he's left-handed, correct, in terms of throwing the ball, or is he right-handed?
No, he's a righty.
Right-handed, yeah.
He's a righty. Okay. Yeah, I should have known that, knowing that like the last left-handed quarterback in the league was Kellen Moore, who's now OC for the Cowboys.
Is Tua a lefty?
Tua is the first one
Okay.
to be in since then.
Gotcha.
So I just got him confused. I think we were talking quarterbacks off air.
Yeah.
Just to kind of look at this class a little bit. But yeah, I think once you get past the top 100, then you're looking at developmental players. So if your hope is that Ronnie Stanley can come back to 100%, maybe you could look at guys like, let's say Max Mitchell, who had some top 50, top 100 buzz. I still think he's like a third, fourth round player out of Louisiana. I know I'm not really sure how to say his first name. If it's spelled like Dare, if it's Dare Rosenthal from Kentucky, who I think had a lot of, he has a lot of athletic ability. Tape wise, I don't know if it's all there yet, so he'd probably be looking more of a developmental player. And then you do have some deeper in the draft that maybe you just hope you have a lottery ticket and can bring it up and along with coaching and with experience, get them in the weight room, get them stronger, and hope they can come in and start for you down the road. So I think it's a pretty solid class. I mean, again, where the Ravens are sitting at 14, you're probably on the outside looking in at the top 4.
Seems to be our lives.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Top 4. So it's going to be an early tackle run, huh?
Yeah, I think there's going to be an early tackle run. You got a lot of teams up at the top, starting with Jacksonville. If they don't go with Aiden Hutchinson, they're for sure taking one of the tackles.
What if Aiden Hutchinson just decides he doesn't want to play for Jacksonville? No, I'm totally kidding. But you can
Smart
see
business decision. Pulling Eli Manning.
At this rate, we kind of want Trevor Lawrence to have not wanted to play for Jacksonville. I think they wasted a year with Urban Meyer, but hopefully Doug Peterson come in and kind of rectify that. Although his tenure in Philadelphia didn't end so well in the quarterback front either. So he may be one of these names that gets moved along here in a couple of years, and then Jacksonville is starting all over again. But yeah, they've been circling around offensive tackle, but they signed Cam Robinson to the franchise tag. That doesn't mean it's forever. So they could bring on Ike Ekwonu, Evan Neal, outside chance to Charles Cross. But I think you get past Houston, they could be in the market for an offensive lineman. The Jets, they've started rebuilding theirs. You never know if they might want to just take another and just knock that all out at once.
Yeah, Zach Wilson was running for his life last year.
Yeah, I don't know if what the future holds for Mekhi Becton there. I know he was the high profile addition a couple of years ago, but he's been hurt. Then they had I forget his name, the kid out of USC who was kind of the tackle, and then he went to guard. Just slips my mind.
There's a tall guy.
A lot of names, So, so year after year, it kind of get fumbled. I'm not the encyclopedia of knowledge for year after year, but they could. So I mean, you get to even Carolina at 6, whether they take a quarterback. If they don't, they're probably taking offensive tackle. They've had a lot of defensive focused drafts over the years recently as Matt Rule has come on. So. I've seen, Trevor Penning mocked there, and that was after the others went. And if not them, it's the Giants. And the Giants, they seem like they're in constant need of help for their offensive line. And they've got a whole new staff there too. So they may be looking to clean house and start over with their own model of players. So it's going to be a tough little minefield for the Ravens to get any one of those guys to fall there. But again, anything can happen. This is a deep class at the edge.
Yeah.
The cornerback class isn't as deep, but I mean, those players always go high. And then you have like the wide receivers, which, that's going to be a mix of where you might see these guys go. It could be top 10. They could fall all the way into the 20s of where the receivers go just based on, the market as it is and what the interest is. So your hope would be there, but if those guys are gone, I wouldn't touch anybody else probably till the late first round.
Gotcha. Now, when you start sinking lower into those rounds, because we've said this before, I say it all the time, like the Ravens, usually end up getting guys at this position when we want them in the first round. We got to wait a couple rounds, right? Like that's kind of how it goes for the Ravens. Which once again, we seem to draft players really well. Just look at our history, so no complaints here. But patience is required if you're Baltimore Ravens. So, are there any tackles later on that you see as players that are talents as far as? I mean, it's kind of difficult because we want a day one guy, but if we don't get that, are there any guys that you see that could be developed into an NFL starter that maybe
left
isn't getting,
tackle, by the way.
Yeah,
right? That maybe
Not a
isn't
right
getting the
tackle.
love.
yeah. I think you have a couple of Senior Bowl guys that there's some potential there. Braxton Jones from Southern Utah, tall, long, physique, and he could be developed into to possibly be a starting left tackle. Matt Waletzko from North Dakota is an interesting name. He's certainly received a lot of high praise from Jim Nagy, who's the executive director of the Senior Bowl, as somebody, and you can see it. He just needs to again get into a pro program for strength and conditioning, because I doubt North Dakota has the best path to get stronger. Although those guys are country strong, I'm not sure where Matt Waletzko is from originally. He's probably just from around that area, so he would be somebody that probably take a year or two to bring along. And then you do have a few that kind of deeper in the draft. I really liked Ryan Van Demark from Connecticut, who I see is more of a 5th to 7th round player, but he's very technically sound. Again, a lot of these guys you just kind of have to bring them up to speed physically, but I think he's a good option there on day 3. Zach Thomas from San Diego State, who has really good tape. He showed up pretty well at the combine. I think he's somebody that that you might want to consider. Again, these smaller school guys, again, there's a path for them, but you kind of want to look for traits. You want to look for ability, mobility. I think at the left tackle position, as we talked about, very important. So these guys,
Jason, I gotta jump in here because look, you're talking about small school guys
He didn't
here.
bring up your boy yet. Not
Look,
even.
you're talking about small school guys here, and you're not.
Yeah.
You're omitting. You're skipping over the best offensive lineman for the Pac-12 champion, University of Utah Utes. Like Bamadella is an absolute monster in my opinion. That run game was one of the best in the country, and I think he had a lot to do with that. He stands at 6'7", 350. And I think he's pretty young as a football player, even though he's a senior. He's from the UK, and so he's still new to football. I think he's got a lot of room to grow in his maturation and technique and things like that.
He's trying to sell him to you, Jay.
But what's your take on him? As a guy that can be developed into a starter in the NFL. To me, he's got the physical traits that you want as far as size and strength and things like that. But what is it that's keeping him from being pushed further up the board?
Well, I think we got to qualify it because they don't play defense past the Mississippi River on the west side.
Get him.
No, I'm just I think he's a good player. He was at the Shrine Bowl. Bam Olaseni is the player we're talking about. So good name, obviously. But I have him in that kind of 5th to 7th round range as well. And I think that the difficulty there is with Utah, very run heavy. Offense. So you don't know if he's as well developed as a pass protector. But yeah, definitely looks the part and fits that bill. You do get
we're a run heavy offense.
Yeah, so I mean that's definitely a possibility there. Let me just verify one thing with him is that so he was not invited to the combine, which is concerning. Not that that's the end all be all, but that's a good benchmark to kind of verify where these guys are probably viewed across the league. So there's got to be something there. I just think that between all of the bowl games, the combine invites, I mean, there's kind of a litmus test you have to have. He's a Shrine Bowl guy, but Shrine is typically a level under the Senior Bowl. The Senior Bowl seemed like they had 150 players this year. But for the purposes of the Ravens and you, James, specifically, if you have interest in Bam, you get there on day 3, he's there. Maybe that's a possibility they look at as him being the developmental tackle that they want to look at.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, I think He asked it as an open-ended question and then just drilled right down into his guy there. But let me ask you about a guy I've seen linked to the Ravens a ton, and that's of course Trevor Penning out of Northern Iowa,
Yeah.
who, if you look at PFF, he had the single highest run blocking grade since they've been grading, in their history. So at 6'7", 320, he looks to be the part, but how hard is it to grade a guy and to try and project a guy who's coming out of the FCS?
Right, not hard to do that for a guy that's a Rose Bowl champion. You know what I mean? Or a Pac-12 champion. Excuse me, we lost the Rose Bowl. But.
Yeah. Well, usually, kind of the test to pass is how they look against that level of competition. If they're dominant, then that's the first place you start. And if they are dominant, then that usually gets them attention from, the Senior Bowl, the Shrine Bowl, the NFLPA, and all of those kind of are in sequence, right? So if a guy looks really good at that level, then he goes to NFLPA, he does really well out there. Somebody's on the phone saying, hey, let's get him to the Senior Bowl. You come out there and put him up against competition. And Trevor Penning kind of got on everybody's map at the Senior Bowl because he's just a big, nasty guy that plays through the whistle, gives you that extra shove, is wrestling guys to the ground and talking to them the whole way down. So he's definitely got the right temperament for the trade there, to definitely play like in a smash mouth run first offense. And then I think when he went to the combine, the athleticism was on display there. Mm-hmm. So he's checked every box along the way, which is why he went from being probably a late first round pick just based on the measurables, based on the tape, to where, okay, the athletic ability has been confirmed. He's played up against the talent at the Senior Bowl. You put all these pieces together, and it's like, okay, if you need a tackle, there's a possibility he could go even above one of the other guys there if a team likes him enough. So which is why, I've seen him mocked ahead of Charles Cross before, Charles Cross did his pro day. Evan Neal hasn't really worked out since the national championship game. He hasn't been, it's kind of the perception that he's the top tackle in the class, but he didn't work out at the combine. I don't think Alabama's had their pro day yet, so he hasn't, been put on display to go through all the same drills. So it's a little bit of an unknown there. So if a team maybe likes Trevor Penning ahead of Evan Neal, you could certainly see him going top 5, top 8 as well. So,
wow. So we're not talking right tackle here. We're talking a left tackle here, huh?
Yeah, he's a left tackle. I think every one of those guys there at the top, that's where you want to be if you want a left tackle. And again, we spoke about this with the edge. Baltimore a little bit on the outside looking in. You hope one of those guys can fall. You can hope these quarterbacks go, that a receiver or two maybe slips in there. You still got Sauce Gardner, cornerback, who's probably the consensus top outside defender there on the board. Kyle Hamilton, the safety, which we talked about the last time. I think actually his buzz has cooled a little bit. He might, move down a little bit.
Didn't run that well, right?
Don't do it to me, Jason. Right? Don't do it to me now.
No, he ran, I think, a 4.6 or 4.69, something that
real slow.
Yeah, it wasn't that pleasant to look at in terms of a time, especially when you see all these guys with the 4.26 and they thought the one receiver from I think Baylor broke the record, or if it was the cornerback. Oh, they brought their whole track team there that happens to play on the outside on the football field. So you never know. I mean, it could fall a different way that beyond anything we're expecting. They could see some surprises there in the top 10. Just kind of have to wait and see, and you see how the board falls.
Man, well, it's definitely going to be interesting. Make sure that, like I said, like we said before, go check out Jason's stuff, because if he's mentioning these guys, not only is his accuracy up there, but, Jason, I think pretty well what the Ravens are looking for, what their needs are. So make sure you go get a look at these guys. Let us know what your thoughts are. Any guys out there you guys want us to look at, give us all your thoughts in the comments below, and we'll talk to you guys soon.